In the 40K universe, the Milky Way galaxy is filled with 6 major superpowers, but there are hundreds of other minor intelligent races that have established small empires of their own. These have the potential to one day pull themselves up to become major players in the never-ending war of the grimdark future. Some of these races have a playable element on the tabletop, while others are vaguely mentioned in the Black Library and Dark Heresy books. While some of these minor races are capable of defending their territory and people from the countless threats in the galaxy, many of them have found success not through head-to-head battles, but rather diplomacy with major superpowers. Some alliances are stronger than others, but ultimately, the minor races that were going to be found on this list fit 3 major requirements. First, they must possess an effective method of waging war, whether that is a unique and deadly weapon or a strong and well-trained army. They also must have the technology to travel through space. This doesn't mean that they possess faster-than-light travel or understand how to use the Immaterium, but their people must not be sequestered to one single planet. And finally, they must demonstrate a unity amongst each other. They don't have to have a massive empire, but their people should be able to rally together and one day conquer the galaxy. This commonality can be a common creed, a common enemy, or even a common spacefaring role. Let's start off with a minor race that got some attention during the Games Workshop introduction of the Warhammer Adventures books, the Jakaro. This alien species has been around for longer than humanity. They were actually created by the Old Ones as one of the warrior races that battled the Necrons in the War in Heaven. Although the Jakaro presumably fought alongside the Eldari and the Krork, and managed to survive the Enslaver Plague, the species didn't reach the same level of success as their comrades. This could be due to the Jakaro's cultural mindset, which seems to be centered around engineering and not conquest. They do all they can to survive and protect themselves, but ultimately, they're not a naturally aggressive race. The Jakaro's potential for greatness amongst the stars is hidden in their innate ability to create deadly and advanced weaponry. These weapons have such high renown that the Imperium refers to the Jakaro as weaponsmiths. Much like the Orc race, the Jakaro were created with a biological blueprint that allows them to build highly advanced technological systems without having to learn it first. Just like humans are born with an instinctual knowledge to breathe, the Jakaro know how to instinctually design a weapon. Unlike the Orcs, the Jakaro's technology can be used by any and all races, which is why the Imperium, most commonly radical inquisitors, have allied with this species in order to benefit from their expert engineering skills. When given the appropriate resources, a Jakaro is capable of building anything from a las cannon to spacecraft. The species has even been known to construct food synthesizers for long periods of famine or even space travel. With these technologies, a future Jakaro empire wouldn't have to drown out planets in industrial waste, or even require hundreds of mining worlds like the Imperium of Man. The efficiency of their advanced technology could sustain the entire empire, much like the Eldar craft worlds are able to sustain their populations. However, the crown jewel of the Jakaro's advanced engineering is definitely in the theater of war, specifically the creation of digital weapons. Sometimes referred to as digiweapons, these devices are as small as a ring and are either worn or implanted into the wielder. Once activated, the digital weapon can fire almost any type of projectile, from lasers to bullets. Although the device doesn't possess the same volume of fire as a regular-sized weapon, the damage it can deal is just as devastating. The size of the device also means that multiple weapons can be carried by one single warrior. A Jakaro army could possess a far wider range of weapons compared to a regiment of the Astra Militarum. When it comes to space travel, the Jakaro's understanding of astrophysics is also unusually deep, as they seem capable of tapping into unseen power currents that run throughout the galaxy and are unknown to all other intelligent spacefaring races, except maybe the Necrons. The Jakaro's unique starships take full advantage of this knowledge, as they are open-structured lattices that resemble a unique polyhedron and are unlike any other spacefaring vessel encountered by mankind. This unusual open structure is vital to the design, as it draws upon the same unknown interstellar currents of energy that the Jakaro are aware of. Some Imperial savants compare it to force weapons, as the psychic energy travels through the vessel's unique spiral shape. Thus, Jakaro vessels are able to move, maneuver, and even enter into the warp by simply making ongoing physical alterations to the starship's shape, thus drawing in on this unseen energy. This means that unlike the Imperium, that has struggled to find webway portals, the Jakaro have a significant advantage, making a future Jakaro empire much faster than most major races in the galaxy. When it comes to unity, the Jakaro have been spotted traveling in large family groups. These sightings are obviously most common when a colony arrives in an Imperial-held world, but the cooperation between the Jakaro speaks to their highly intelligent social skills. At first, the Imperium was baffled by these nomadic Jakaro tribes. In appearance, the race resembles the ancient Terran orange-furred orangutans. This very primitive appearance was juxtaposed with the species' highly advanced technology. Adding to the confusion, the species doesn't seem to communicate with spoken language. Very few accounts exist of Jakaro demonstrating the ability to speak, and yet there are numerous accounts of multiple traveling clans banding together to attack specific targets in order to acquire the object they desire. Related families often travel and work together, and these groups are led by either a matriarch or a patriarch. Their natural and extraordinary technical talents demonstrate how capable they are at outwitting any starfaring race. Jakaro are quite capable of using complex and well-coordinated attacks against their targets. These targets have been lone power stations, farmsteads, or distant mining vessels. They seem to raid these places for a particular type of technological loot. The Jakaro will always seek to escape with their loot before their action attracts the response from their foes. If the Jakaro ever evolved a desire for conquest, the species could easily develop an empire capable of waging war against the major powers of the Milky Way galaxy. They would use their digital weapons and other advanced technologies to compete for dominance over resource-rich worlds, and their highly mobile space fleets would easily outmaneuver the more archaic designs of the Imperium of Man, while their tactics would resemble those of the Eldar craft world or the Drukhari, meaning that they would favor lightning-fast assaults followed by quick withdrawals to safety. The Jakaro Empire would easily outsmart and outmaneuver the slower and more attrition-based armies of the Milky Way galaxy. Another race the Imperium is incredibly ignorant about, but has the potential to grow in strength, is the mysterious Frau. Very little is known about the species, including a solid description of what they actually look like, but they have plagued the Imperium and other Xeno superpowers in the Segmentum Obscurus since before the days of the Great Crusade. Aside from their high-tech weaponry, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, the race can manipulate its psychic potential at a much higher level than humanity. The species can create psychic tools called night shards that allow them to use divinatory warp powers. The full extent of this power of foresight is unknown, but it could be the reason why the armies of the Frau have managed to defeat the Imperium with so many perfectly timed strikes. The Frau have sent back many Imperial forces from their territory, and have been the cause of dozens of great Space Marine heroes being interned into dreadnoughts. The race has shown an unapologetic thirst for savagery in combat. Their primary melee weapon is a dagger they call a glass knife. The weapon is sharp enough to split ceramite, but has microscopic fractures that cause small chunks of the blade to splinter into a wound, causing incredibly agonizing pain. If the enemy doesn't die in the course of the battle, the glass knife shards dug into the wound will cause life-threatening infections. When it comes to space travel, their technology is advanced enough to create incredibly powerful battlecruisers. Although these spaceships aren't as numerous as the fleets of the Imperium, the Frau battlecruisers are incredibly dangerous due to the species' signature weapon technology, known as ether. A pulse of superpower energy beams out at a target and splashes on impact. The ether field corrodes away whatever it comes into contact with, causing tremendous damage. Void shields have been reduced to nothing by the firepower of the race's ether cannons. Although these deadly ships have been encountered as part of raiding parties, the Frau battlecruisers have been sighted standing vigil over planets that are presumably part of the Frau Empire. The Imperium doesn't truly know how unified the species is. Obvious examples in the past have led many Imperial Navy captains to believe that the Frau are actually protecting the borders of some undiscovered empire in the Gothic sector, but other accounts have pointed to the species being nomadic. The Imperium's lack of knowledge showcases how little attention they have given to this threat, and also it's an insult that they haven't destroyed it yet. Rogue traders that are familiar with the Xenos have verified the existence of the Frau conclaves, which are ruled over by the leaders called satraps. Although it is unknown how coordinated these conclaves are, they all have similar criticisms of the Imperium. They scoff at the way they treat their own species, specifically when traders sell human slaves, whereas the Frau would never betray their own blood, preferring to trade in technology. The Inquisition fears that the Frau could easily be masterminding an agenda for control of the Gothic sector, somewhere deep in their hidden empire. The Frau are most likely combining their superior psychic powers with their highly advanced technology and building an arsenal that can conquer the sector. The species might even already have the Gothic sector surrounded, and every satrap in the region is simply waiting for the tides of the Immaterium to reveal the perfect moment to strike. Armies of Psi constructs that can rival the Psi Titans of the Imperium and even the Eldar Titans, coupled with an army of millions of monstrous Psyker savages, could be lurking in the unexplored regions of space. And those were some minor races that have potential to become superpowers in the 40K universe. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow. This was Garshuan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first, and then